Food availability crisis. What's going on with our food supply now and why you need to pay attention to the changes that are happening. These are just some of the things I hope to cover in this video. This is the Urban Sentinel. Let's get into it. Right off the top, let me say thank you to all of my subscribers. And if you're new to this channel and you're just watching me for the first time, welcome and thank you as well. Now, with that being said, I can acknowledge that things are in a constant state of flux. There's no definitive direction that any one person can say, this is the way. With that being said, there are patterns and there are trends that are leaning more in one direction. Over the last 3 years, the global food supply has had many setbacks and some major problems. In this last year of 2022 alone, these problems have gotten worse and will, on a global level, we will really start to see them in 2023 through 2024. Starting with cost. Yes, cost of food overall tends to go up, but there's been a significant increase in the cost of food over the last few years where the amount available versus what you're paying or the quantity amount has become unbalanced. It exceeds the average of what most people see domestically wherever you are. In addition to that volume quantity difference, there's also been a reduction in food production as well, whether it be grain harvesting and vegetables and crops, or whether it be the culling of animals, the availability of poultry, beef, pork, what have you. Across the board, there are many factors that have an influence on this. There's the direct influence of inflation. There's taxes and tariffs on imports and exports. There's the labor costs, production costs, there's distribution, etc., and the list goes on. Adding into this mix the growth and harvesting of actual products, the distribution of those products, and what it costs to get it onto your grocery shelf at the end of the week. Many of us have been stocking and stacking up goods for our needs. And most of the cases, you may notice an increase in certain items over a week, 2 weeks, or a month. It might be 1 or 2 cents, a very small amount, but that builds up over a year. And as each year has gone by, some items have progressively begun to cost more and more for when you buy them. Right now, heading into the last 2 months of 2022, the looming issue will be the overall food supply outlook for 2023. The very same meat production facilities that burned down, the very same farmers and ranchers that had to cull thousands of heads of cattle or plow over thousands of acres worth of fields, those haven't been corrected, those haven't been replaced. What we're seeing right now is the tail end of what was produced, what was grown, what was raised, moving into the end of this year, going into the very beginning of next year. This fall harvest that most of the farmers are going into is a smaller harvest. This end of the year where most ranchers for their cattle or farmers for their pigs or for the poultry, again, same thing. Fewer in number means fewer to be distributed, fewer to be sold. So you're going to start to see a reduction in what is available on the shelves where you're at. What you'll need to start doing, or what you need to continue doing if you're already prepping, is start looking at what you can do with what you have available. You start to utilize the rule of 2. And for people that are new to that term, the prepper mantra of 2 is 1 and 1 is none is simplistic as it sounds. It's quite accurate, and it is something that can be utilized in almost every prepper situation. Granted, there are some limitations. Unless you have unlimited funds, there are some things that you're not going to simply be able to get 2 of right off the top. But with planning and patience, you can utilize that ideal to cover most of your needs that you will have in terms of prepping for your food and your stable supplies that you'll need in these next coming months. For this video, I'm going to focus on just the tangible, immediate things most of us are able to do. When you look at your kitchen cabinets and you see your food, you need to start really thinking about, if I could only eat what's in the cabinets, how long would that last me? But also, what is the nutritional value that it has? You need to think in terms of not just long life, shelf stable goods, but also the balance of proteins, carbs, fats, because too much of any one is not going to be a benefit to you. You have to maintain that balance. Who knows? You may find that in 6 months, you're maintaining a rationing diet of 1 meal per day because of either the cost of food or the availability of food. So you need to make sure that that 1 meal a day gives you the most nutritional value that you can get from it, that you get the best quality out of it. Reading the labels on the products is always important, but it's especially important now. And you start to notice that there are changes in what companies put into things, how they change things up. You may have consumed one manufacturer's product for years, and then one day you buy it and you're eating it and something just doesn't seem right. You can't put your finger on it, but it just doesn't taste the same. As an example, and it's just an example, you go into a supermarket, look at any major brand peanut butter. Brand name peanut butter, look at it, pick it up, read the label. Look at the alternate version that's somewhere nearby. Look at the light or the less or the low, whatever it's labeled with it. Turn around, look at that label. You're going to see 8 to 12 more ingredients in the healthier suggested option that's being promoted in that light, less, and low. Sure, 35% less sodium, but 50% more dextromaldehyde or some other chemical that's probably used to strip rust off of pipes or, dissolve concrete. That's where the issue comes down to. Not everything that is being marketed and promoted as healthier for you actually is. And in a crisis situation, a situation where you have very few meals to begin with, you don't want to start filling up and loading your body up with all of those chemicals that aren't going to benefit you in any way, shape, or form. Now, I'm not giving dietary advice. I'm not giving medical advice. If you've got health conditions and things like that, definitely check with your doctor, but start planning on how you can arrange your dietary needs presently now and moving forward to get the most that you can from the food that you have. And with many of those things that you're going to be doing, when you shop, buy two. Utilize coupons, the buy one, get one, whatever it is, buy two. You look at it this way. You get 2 things of peanut butter. You put one aside and you use one. When that one that you're using, that first one gets low or is gone, you buy 2 again. And again, repeat that process. Now you put another one back. So you have extra stores building up. You'll take a look at what you use the most and how long it takes you to use it. That'll give you the idea of how you can tailor it to your needs, so you can get an idea of everything on your grocery list. How long would it take for that 1 week's worth of food to be stored up to become 2 weeks worth of food, to become 6 weeks worth of food, to become 12 weeks worth of food? What you're aiming for, and I still hold to it, is a minimum of 3 months supply of food. Because no matter what, if it's just simply an increase in cost, that's a month and a half to 2 months to 3 months worth of food that if you're really tight for money at that point in time in this upcoming year, you're not going to have to spend it every other week to get certain supplies. You'll have some set aside of things that you normally would consume. Now, you can go the route of just buying the cheapest thing you can find out there, but if that's not something that you normally purchase, if it's not something you normally consume, why do it? Why waste that money? Plan it out. Spend what you would normally spend to get the food that you would actually eat. Now, I definitely feel that as this year ends, there are whispers of food scarcity, food supply issues, shipping issues, things like that, that those whispers are going to get louder in 2023 to the point where people will start to pay attention, and depending upon which way the wind is blowing, it may not necessarily be something that's going to be highlighted in every single news report. What you can expect, though, is as people go grocery shopping and they're literally spending an extra 20, 30, 40% more in the next year for food than they did this year, when you leave the grocery store and you look at what you have in your cart and your bag and you literally feel like you've been robbed, like you've been scammed, at that point in time, when the public has that feeling, when they have that general sentiment that they are definitely being robbed of something, it's too late. That means at that point, the supply availability, the distribution setups, everything is already at its maximum, and that's everything that it's putting out. That's when you're going to run into those situations, not just here domestically, but globally, every place, where you're going to have those little sparks that start these wildfires of protests and riots simply because people are either not able to get food, or the quality of the food they're getting is significantly lower, or plain and simple. It just costs too much to buy the same thing in 2023 that it did in 2022 and the years beforehand. And a lot of cases, you're going to see major producers and manufacturers shut down or reduce operations or limit their availability as a whole because they're still trying to operate a business, but they have less product to offer the public in those situations. Give this video a like and a share, subscribe if you haven't already, and just remember, planning for 3 months is going to keep you ahead of everyone else. It'll give you that extra edge to stay one step ahead of whatever's coming up. It'll keep you alive and you plan things out and work things out as best as you can. And that's the only thing that you can really do at this point in time. Plan it, and replan every single day, every single time. That's it for now. I'll catch you guys in the next one.